Have you ever ended a day exhausted, but not proud? Not physically tired, mentally drained. You were busy. You answered messages. You scrolled. You reacted. You handled things. But when your head hit the pillow, there was this quiet thought. What did I actually move forward today? That feeling doesn't come from laziness. It comes from misused time. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't feel stuck because you don't have goals. You feel stuck because your days don't reflect them. You say you want change, but your 24 hours tell a different story. Be honest. How many times have you said, "I'll start tomorrow," and tomorrow turns into next week turns into next month, and suddenly it's been a year? That's not a motivation problem. That's a day problem. Because your life isn't built in years, it's built in days. And this is where things shift. You only have 24 hours. Not someday. Not when you feel ready. Today. Wait till you hear this. You don't waste your life all at once. You waste it in small, comfortable pieces. 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. A distraction. A delay. It feels harmless, but it compounds. Just like effort does. And that's when it hits you. Every day is a silent vote for the person you're becoming. Not your intentions, your actions. If someone followed you around for 24 hours with a camera, would your day match your dreams? Sit with that. Because this isn't about productivity hacks. It's about ownership. Most people treat time like it resets emotionally. Midnight comes, new day, clean slate. But your habits don't reset. They roll over. And here's the scary part. If you don't design your day, someone else will. Notifications, other people's priorities, algorithms. You wake up with goals. You go to sleep having served everyone else's. Is that you right now? Because this is the hero's starting point. You're not lazy. You're scattered. You're not incapable. You're reactive. There's a difference. And this next part changes everything. Winning the day isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters first. But your brain resists that. Why? Because meaningful work is uncomfortable. It requires focus, and focus feels heavy when you're used to distraction. Let me ask you something quietly. When you avoid the thing that matters most, what are you really avoiding? Failure? Judgment? The possibility that you might try and still fall short? Most people won't admit this part. I used to fill my day with small tasks just to feel productive. Emails, organizing, planning endlessly. It looked busy. It felt safe. But it wasn't bold. I wasn't moving forward. I was hiding. Does that hit? Because busyness is the modern disguise for fear, and fear loves comfort. Here's a surprising realization. You don't need more time. You need more courage within the time you already have. 24 hours is enough. It's always been enough. The problem isn't the clock. It's clarity. Which one are you right now? Overwhelmed or intentional? You can't be both. Overwhelm comes from trying to carry the entire future at once. Intentionality comes from narrowing your focus to today. Just today. This hour. This block of time. And that's when you realize something powerful. You don't control your life. You control your next decision. And that decision shapes the next one. And the next one. And suddenly the day looks different. But here's where it gets real. If you keep living days you're not proud of, what makes you think you'll be proud of your life? If you keep living days you're not proud of, what makes you think you'll be proud of your life? That question stings a little. Good. Because discomfort is awareness waking up. You don't drift into a meaningful life. You drift into mediocrity. Meaning has to be chosen, daily. And here's the quiet tragedy. Most people are waiting for a breakthrough, a big opportunity, a burst of motivation, a life-changing moment. But breakthroughs are built from ordinary Tuesdays, not dramatic turning points. This is where things change. You stop asking, "How do I change my life?" and start asking, "How do I win today?" Smaller question, bigger impact. Because today is manageable. A lifetime isn't. Wait till you hear this. The future is just a collection of well-used days. That's it. No secret formula, no hidden advantage, just days stacked intentionally. But here's where resistance shows up. Your brain loves urgency, just not the right kind. It loves last-minute pressure, deadlines, emergencies, crisis mode. Because crisis feels important. Intentional action feels optional. Why do we wait until we're forced? Why do we ignore what matters until it's urgent? Think about it for a second. The gym becomes urgent after the doctor's visit. Savings become urgent after the overdraft. Relationships become urgent after the distance. Why do we keep doing this even when we know better? Because urgency gives you adrenaline. Discipline gives you identity. And identity takes longer to build. Here's the shift. Winning the day isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It's choosing the hard task before the easy distraction. It's doing the thing your future self will thank you for, before your present self talks you out of it. That's the battle. Not you versus the world, you versus comfort. And comfort is convincing. It whispers, you deserve a break, even when you just started. It says, you'll do it later, even when later never comes. Be honest. How many times have you negotiated with yourself and lost? You set the alarm. You hit snooze. You plan the workout. You skip it. You open the document. You close it. And each time feels small. But here's the part nobody tells you. Every broken promise to yourself weakens self-trust. And self-trust is everything. When you don't trust yourself to follow through, goals feel fake, plans feel fragile, and you start doubting your own words. That's exhausting. But this next part changes everything. You don't build self-trust in a year. You build it in a day. By keeping one promise, just one. Today, not 10. One. The most important one. And here's where it gets real. You already know what that one thing is. The thing you've been avoiding. The thing that would actually move your life forward. The thing that feels slightly uncomfortable just thinking about it. That's your win. Not the laundry, not the inbox, not the busy work. The meaningful move. Let me ask you something. If you could only accomplish one thing today, what would matter most? Don't overthink it. The first answer that comes to mind is usually the truth. And now the hard question. Why aren't you doing that first? No judgment, just awareness. Because when you face that answer, you meet your resistance. Fear of failing. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of starting and realizing it's harder than you thought. I get it. Starting exposes you, but hiding costs you more. Which one are you choosing right now? Exposure or regret? You don't need a perfect day. You need a decisive one. And decisiveness feels powerful, even if the action is small. Because action breaks overthinking. Action interrupts anxiety. Action creates momentum. And momentum is addictive in the best way. But here's the twist. The first hour of your day often determines the tone of the rest. And most people surrender it. To their phones, to other people, to noise. What if you protected your first hour like it mattered? Because it does. What if you protected your first hour like it mattered? Because it does. That first hour is a signal. It tells your brain who's in charge. You or the world. If the first thing you do is scroll, react, respond, you start the day in defense mode, already behind, already scattered. But if the first thing you do is intentional, even something small, you send a different message. I decide how this day begins. That's power. Not loud power, quiet control. And this is where it gets real. Most people don't lose their days in the afternoon. They lose them in the morning. Because mornings set identity. If you start reactive, you stay reactive. If you start focused, you build focus. Here's a surprising realization. Discipline isn't about intensity, it's about sequence. Do the important thing before the easy thing. That one shift can change everything. But wait, resistance shows up fast. Your mind will say, just check your phone for a minute. Just a minute. You know how that ends. 20 minutes later, you're deep in someone else's life, and your own goals feel distant. Be honest. How often does that happen? There's no shame in it, but there is responsibility. Because every time you delay what matters most, you teach your brain that it's optional, and optional things rarely get done. This next part changes everything. Winning the day isn't about cramming productivity. It's about creating a win early. One clear action, one meaningful move, before the world pulls you in 10 directions. Because here's the truth. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And habits are built in the smallest windows. The first hour, the next decision, the moment you choose between comfort and progress. Let me share something real. I used to think I needed motivation to start. I'd wait to feel ready. I thought energy had to come first. But energy follows action, not the other way around. That's the part nobody tells you. You move first, then motivation catches up. Why do we keep waiting for the feeling instead of creating it? Think about that. How many dreams are paused because someone's waiting to feel inspired? But inspiration isn't a prerequisite, it's a reward. And that shift is everything. Instead of asking, do I feel like it? Ask, is this aligned with who I want to become? Different question, different outcome. Because feelings fluctuate, identity compounds. Which one are you building right now? Comfort identity or growth identity? You can't build both. And this is where the hero changes. Not in a dramatic transformation, in a subtle decision. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop saying, maybe later. You say, now. Not angrily, not aggressively, calmly, decisively. And something powerful happens. You feel proud before the day is even halfway done. That pride fuels the next action, and the next. Momentum builds. Not because the day was easy, but because you were intentional. But here's where it gets uncomfortable again. You will miss days. You will slip. You will have mornings where you lose the first hour. That doesn't mean you lost the war. It means you're human. The real danger isn't missing a day. It's letting one off day become an identity. I always mess this up. I'm just not consistent. Be honest. Have you said that before? That sentence is heavier than the mistake. Because now it's not about one day. It's about who you think you are. And identity shapes behavior. So instead of asking, why am I like this? Ask, what would someone disciplined do next? Then do that. Immediately. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for perfect timing. You only have today. And today is enough.